13 German fighters spiral below like vultures over carrion, their Messerschmitt engines snarling in the thin air at 28,000 feet. Above them, impossibly higher, a single American P-47 Thunderbolt hangs motionless against the dawn sky, a 7-ton anvil suspended by physics and audacity. The pilot inside knows the mathematics of what he's about to attempt, a near-vertical dive entry at terminal velocity, pulling forces that should liquefy his organs and tear his wings clean off. His squadron leader's voice crackles through the radio, sharp with panic. Negative, negative. Return to formation. That's suicide. But Lieutenant Robert Razor Zemke has already pushed the stick forward. The Thunderbolt's nose drops like a guillotine blade, and gravity takes over. In the next 4 minutes, this 22-year-old farm boy from Nebraska will either revolutionize fighter tactics forever or become another crater in the French countryside. The airspeed indicator needle sweeps past the red line, past the point where test pilots refuse to go, into territory marked only by question marks and prayer. What happens next will be studied in war colleges for the next 80 years. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the story, hit the subscribe button and let us know in the comments from where in the world you are watching from today. September 1943. The skies over occupied France are a killing field measured in aluminum and blood. The Luftwaffe owns the airspace above 20,000 feet, their seasoned pilots flying with the cold precision of men who have survived 2 years of continuous combat. They know the American patterns, the predictable bomber streams, the escort tactics written in training manuals by instructors who never faced a Focke-Wulf at 400 miles per hour. The air smells of cordite and aviation fuel. Ice crystals form on cockpit glass in the thin atmosphere. Radio static mingles with the drone of hundreds of engines, Merlin V-12s, Pratt & Whitney radials, and the distinctive whine of German Junkers turbojets. Below, the patchwork fields of Normandy stretch toward the horizon, peaceful and green, unmarked by the violence playing out 5 miles above. The 8th Air Force is bleeding. B-17 flying fortresses return to English bases with dead gunners and shattered engines, their aluminum skins stitched with cannon holes. The fighter escort doctrine is simple: stay with the bombers, maintain formation discipline, engage only when directly threatened. It is a defensive strategy born from necessity and sustained by caution. It is also failing. German fighter tactics have evolved into lethal efficiency. They fly in pairs and flights, using altitude advantage and patient positioning. They bait American escorts into turning fights, then strike from above with devastating coordinated attacks. The mathematics are brutal. For every German fighter lost, 3 American aircraft fail to return. Pilots fresh from stateside training schools last an average of 7 missions before they are killed, wounded, or captured. Command knows the doctrine is flawed. Reports filter back from every mission. The same story of scattered formations, confused radio chatter, and German fighters slashing through bomber streams like sharks through a school of fish. But changing tactics requires consensus, testing, bureaucratic approval. Time is measured in bomber crews incinerated over Bremen and fighter pilots spinning into the English Channel. The crisis is mathematical. At current loss rates, the 8th Air Force will cease to exist as an effective fighting force within 6 months. Every morning, young men climb into aircraft knowing the statistics. Every evening, fewer return. Robert Eugene Razor Zemke was born in the Nebraska Panhandle in 1921, where the sky stretches from horizon to horizon without interruption and the wind never stops. His father farmed wheat and fixed tractors. His mother taught school and read him physics books by lamplight. There was no money for sentiment, no room for anything that did not serve a practical purpose. Razor learned to drive at 12, not on roads but across open fields, reading the land by feel and instinct. By 15, he could tear down a John Deere engine blindfolded and rebuild it faster than most mechanics half his age. His hands were steady. His mind was methodical. He approached problems the way a carpenter approaches a joint. Measure twice, cut once, waste nothing. He learned to fly at the University of Nebraska on worn-out Piper Cubs held together with wire and stubbornness. His instructor noted that Razor did not fly so much as negotiate with the aircraft. He listened to the engine, felt the controls, and seemed to understand the machine's moods without being taught. He soloed after 6 hours. His check ride was flawless but unremarkable. No flash, no drama, just competent stick and rudder work that left no doubt about his capabilities. When Pearl Harbor changed everything, Razor enlisted in the Army Air Forces without ceremony or delay. He was 20 years old, tall and lean, with pale blue eyes that missed nothing and revealed less. His classmates at flight school remembered him as quiet, dependable, and impossible to rattle. He flew formation like he drove tractors, smoothly, efficiently, with an economy of motion that made difficult maneuvers look routine. If this history matters to you, tap like and subscribe. Razor's training records from 1942 are unremarkable. Clean flying, good grades, no disciplinary issues. But his instructors noticed something unusual in his approach to gunnery training. While other cadets focused on marksmanship and deflection angles, Razor studied energy management. He calculated closure rates, turning radii, and overtaking speeds. He sketched attack diagrams on paper napkins in the mess hall, working out angles and timing with slide rule precision. When he was assigned to P-47 Thunderbolts, other pilots complained about the aircraft's weight and sluggish climb rate. They called it the 7-ton bathtub and mourned the nimble P-51 Mustangs assigned to other groups. Razor saw different parameters. The P-47 was heavy, yes, but that weight translated into momentum. Its massive Pratt & Whitney R-2800 engine produced more power than any single-engine fighter in the world. Its thick wing could carry enormous fuel loads. Its rugged construction could absorb damage that would destroy lighter aircraft. Most importantly, the P-47 could dive. Not just fast, faster than anything else in the sky, including German jets. In a dive, weight became an advantage. The laws of physics worked for you instead of against you. But dive tactics violated fundamental fighter doctrine. Diving away from a fight was retreating. Real fighter pilots climbed, turned, and engaged in honorable combat. Razor had been thinking about this since his first combat mission over the Ruhr Valley. He had watched German fighters slice through bomber formations, then climb away before the escorts could react. The Luftwaffe was using energy tactics, diving from altitude, attacking with speed advantage, then climbing back to safety. They controlled the engagement tempo. They dictated the terms of every fight. American doctrine forbade such tactics. Fighter pilots were taught to maintain formation, protect the bombers through defensive positioning, and avoid being drawn away from their charges. It was a noble approach built on sound principles. It was also getting pilots killed in predictable ways. By September 1943, the air war over Europe has become an exercise in statistical inevitability. Every morning, the weather officers brief clear skies and good visibility. Every morning, German radar operators track American formations assembling over England. Every morning, Luftwaffe fighters climb to intercept altitude and weight. The pattern is as predictable as sunrise. B-17 flying fortresses lumber across the channel in tight defensive boxes, their .50 caliber machine guns bristling from every angle. P-47 Thunderbolts escort them in neat formations, flying precise patterns designed for mutual support and maximum coverage. The bombers maintain course and altitude. The fighters maintain position relative to the bombers. The Germans understand the system perfectly. They have learned to exploit its every weakness. Oberst Johannes Steinhoff's JG-26 has refined ambush tactics into murderous art. They position flights of 4 aircraft in staggered altitude layers, some at 30,000 feet, others at 25, still others climbing from below. They wait until the American formation commits to its bombing run, when the escorts cannot break away without abandoning their charges. Then they attack. The high flights dive first, slashing through the escort screen at terminal velocity. The Americans turn to engage, bleeding energy in defensive maneuvers. As the escorts slow and scatter, the lower German flights climb into the fight from unexpected angles. Within minutes, disciplined formations dissolve into scattered individual combats. The mathematics are devastating. German pilots average 4 years of combat experience. They fly aircraft designed for European weather and warfare. They choose when and where to engage. American pilots average 4 months of experience. They fly aircraft optimized for long-range escort, not dogfighting. They react to German initiatives instead of creating their own. The results are measured in empty bunks and blood-stained cockpits. Of the 291 B-17s dispatched to bomb ball-bearing factories in Schweinfurt, 60 are shot down and 17 more are damaged beyond repair. The 8th Fighter Command loses 28 P-47s and their pilots. The mission is called a success because the target is damaged. The crews call it Black Thursday. Razor flies that mission. He watches German fighters appear from nowhere, attack with surgical precision, and vanish before effective retaliation is possible. He sees his wingman's P-47 disintegrate under cannon fire from a Focke-Wulf that approached from directly below, a direction American doctrine considers impossible to defend. During the debriefing, Razor raises his hand. He asks why American fighters do not use diving attacks. He suggests that the P-47's weight and power make it ideal for high-speed slashing tactics. He proposes that escorts could position themselves above the bomber stream and attack German formations from unexpected angles. His squadron commander listens politely. Then he explains that fighter escort is a defensive mission requiring formation discipline and mutual support. Individual heroics get wingmen killed. Diving away from bombers leaves them exposed to follow-up attacks. American tactics are based on proven principles developed by experienced combat pilots and validated by extensive testing. Razor does not argue. He has learned that some conversations end with authority, not logic. But he continues thinking. He studies German gun camera footage captured from downed aircraft. He analyzes loss reports and formation dynamics. He calculates energy states and attack angles during long flights over the North Sea. The problem is not equipment or courage. American pilots are brave and well-trained. P-47s are rugged and powerful. The problem is doctrine that treats fighter combat like aerial formation flying instead of three-dimensional physics. Razor begins his experiments in the only laboratory available to him, the cockpit of his P-47 during combat missions. He cannot test radical maneuvers during training flights under the watchful eyes of squadron commanders. But over enemy territory, with German fighters diving out of the sun, individual initiative is not just tolerated but essential for survival. His first attempt comes during a mission to Stuttgart in late August. A flight of 4 Focke-Wulf 190s attacks his squadron from above and behind, the classic German bouts. Standard doctrine calls for defensive turns and mutual support. Instead, Razor pulls his Thunderbolt into a steep climb, trading airspeed for altitude, then rolls inverted and dives directly at the attacking formation. The maneuver violates every principle of fighter tactics he has been taught. He is diving away from his squadron, isolating himself from mutual support, and approaching enemy fighters head-on at a combined closure rate exceeding 700 miles per hour. The engagement window is less than 2 seconds. The margin for error is 0, but physics works in his favor. The diving P-47 accelerates past 400 miles per hour, faster than the pursuing FW-190s can match. Razor fires a 2-second burst as he flashes through the German formation, then pulls up in a climbing spiral, bleeding speed but regaining altitude. One Focke-Wulf trails smoke and glycol coolant. The others break formation, momentarily scattered by an attack they did not anticipate. The maneuver works, but barely. Razor's aircraft is damaged by return fire. His engine runs rough for the remainder of the mission. During debriefing, he mentions the diving attack only in passing, describing it as an evasive maneuver rather than a tactical innovation. His squadron mates are skeptical. They point out that he was lucky to survive, that the maneuver could easily have resulted in a mid-air collision or structural failure. They remind him that individual glory-seeking gets pilots killed and missions failed. Razor listens without arguing, but he also continues experimenting. Over the next month, he refines his technique. He studies the P-47's flight envelope, learning exactly how much G-force the airframe can absorb before structural failure occurs. He practices dive entries at different altitudes, calculating optimal attack angles and recovery procedures. He develops a mental map of energy states, how much altitude he needs to achieve specific airspeeds, how much speed he must trade to climb back to safety. Most importantly, he learns timing. The diving attack works only if the enemy formation is committed to their own attack run. German fighters diving on bombers cannot easily change direction or altitude without losing their tactical advantage. They become temporarily predictable, vulnerable to attacks from unexpected directions. Razor begins positioning himself above and behind his own squadron during bomber escort missions. When German fighters appear, he waits for them to commit to their attack before initiating his own dive. He has discovered that the P-47's weight and power make it the only American fighter capable of outdiving German aircraft. In a straight dive, nothing can catch a Thunderbolt. His kill count begins climbing. 1, then 3, then 7 confirmed victories. Other pilots notice that German attacks on Razor's sector are less effective, more disrupted. Some attribute it to luck. Others begin paying closer attention to his methods. The breakthrough comes in early September during a mission to bomb aircraft factories near Regensburg. A large formation of German fighters, estimated at 40-plus aircraft, intercepts the bomber stream over Bavaria. The attack is coordinated and devastating. Multiple flights of Messerschmitt Bf-109s and Focke-Wulf 190s assault the formation from different altitudes and directions simultaneously. Razor positions his P-47 3,000 feet above the bomber stream and waits. When the German fighters commit to their attack runs, he pushes the stick forward and dives. What happens next will be debated in tactical journals for decades. September 15, 1943. 0630 hours local time. Forward airfield designation, Boxstead, Essex, England. The briefing tent smells of stale coffee and cigarette smoke. Rain drums against canvas walls. Intelligence officers spread reconnaissance photographs across folding tables, pointing to targets with wooden pointers like schoolteachers explaining geography. Today's mission, synthetic oil refineries near Leipzig. 400 miles into German territory. Heavy fighter opposition expected. Razor sits in the back row, studying approach routes and fuel calculations. The mission profile is standard. Climb to 28,000 feet. Rendezvous with bomber formations over the channel. Escort them to target. Maintain defensive formations throughout the engagement. Expected mission duration, 5 hours and 40 minutes. Fuel consumption, critical. His squadron commander, Major Williams, briefs the threat assessment. Intelligence estimates 60-plus enemy fighters in the target area. Expect coordinated attacks from multiple directions. Do not break formation to chase individual targets. Your job is to protect the bombers, not shoot down Germans. The weather officer reports clear skies over the continent. Visibility unlimited above 15,000 feet. Winds from the northwest at 30 knots. Perfect flying weather. Perfect killing weather. Razor performs his pre-flight inspection methodically, checking control surfaces, tire pressure, ammunition loads. His crew chief, Sergeant Murphy, has worked all night preparing the aircraft. The R-2800 engine is freshly tuned. The 8.50 caliber machine guns are test-fired and harmonized to converge at 300 yards. Fuel tanks are topped off. Internal and external tanks carrying enough aviation gasoline for 6 hours of flight time. The P-47 weighs 13,000 pounds fully loaded, more than 3 family automobiles. Its thick wing creates enough lift to carry that weight, but at a cost in agility and climb rate. Other pilots complain about the Thunderbolt's sluggish acceleration and poor maneuverability compared to lighter fighters. Razor sees different physics, momentum, energy storage, structural strength sufficient to withstand forces that would destroy smaller aircraft. The formation takes off at 0715 hours. 24 P-47s climbing into the dawn sky, engines synchronized in a harmony of mechanical power. They assemble over the English coast, then turn southeast toward France. The bomber formations are already airborne. Hundreds of B-17 flying fortresses arranged in defensive combat boxes, their aluminum skin glinting in early sunlight. The rendezvous occurs over the channel at 0800 hours. The bombers maintain course and altitude. The fighters weave above them in loose protective patterns. Radio chatter is minimal, brief position reports and navigation updates. Everyone understands the mission profile. Everyone knows the risks. German radar has been tracking them since takeoff. By the time the formation crosses the French coast, Luftwaffe fighters are already climbing to intercept altitude. The first contact reports crackle through the radio at 0845 hours. Bandits, 12 o'clock high. Many bogies climbing. Razor sees them first. Dark specks against the blue sky, still 10 miles away but closing fast. He counts aircraft, estimates altitude and heading, calculates interception geometry. 42 German fighters arranged in 3 distinct formations. Messerschmitt Bf 109s at 32,000 feet. Focke-Wulf 190s at 28,000. A third group climbing from below, aircraft type unidentified. The tactical picture develops with mathematical precision. The high formation will dive first, attempting to scatter the American escort. The middle formation will exploit any gaps in fighter coverage. The climbing formation will attack the bombers from below, where defensive fire is lightest. Major Williams orders standard defensive positioning. The squadron maintains formation integrity, positioning themselves between the bombers and the approaching threats. Individual pilots check their gun switches and ammunition counters. Everyone waits for the attack to develop. Razor does not wait. While his squadron mates focus on the approaching German fighters, he pulls his P-47 into a climbing spiral, gaining altitude and positioning himself 3,000 feet above the main formation. His radio crackles with calls from his wingman and flight leader, demanding that he return to position. He acknowledges but does not comply. Through his canopy, he watches the tactical situation develop like a chess game played at 300 miles per hour. The German formations are committed now, diving toward preset interception points. They expect to find American fighters in predictable positions, flying predictable patterns. Razor waits until the leading Messerschmitts begin their attack run. Then he pushes the stick forward and dives. The P-47 accelerates like a dropped anvil. The altimeter unwinds in a blur, 30,000 feet, 28, 25. The airspeed indicator climbs past 300 miles per hour, through the yellow arc into the red zone, beyond the aircraft's published limitations. The controls stiffen as airflow over the wings approaches supersonic speeds. The engine screams at maximum power. Below him, the German formation is locked into their attack geometry. They cannot easily change course without losing their tactical advantage. They are committed, predictable, vulnerable. Razor selects his target, a Messerschmitt Bf 109G at the head of the formation, its yellow nose spinner bright against the dark camouflage. He centers the aircraft in his gun sight and begins calculating deflection angles. Closure rate, approximately 700 miles per hour. Time to weapons range, 8 seconds. The German pilot sees him at the last moment. A P-47 diving out of the sun at impossible speed. The Messerschmitt begins an evasive turn, but physics works against quick course changes at high speed. The aircraft skids sideways, bleeding energy, unable to maintain its attack run. Razor fires a 3-second burst. 8.50 caliber machine guns converge on target. The Messerschmitt's engine explodes in orange flame and black smoke. The aircraft rolls inverted and falls away, its pilot either dead or unconscious. But Razor is not finished. He pulls out of the dive at 22,000 feet, trading speed for altitude in a climbing spiral. His vision tunnels from G-forces, but the P-47's controls remain responsive. He spots a second target, a Focke-Wulf 190 pursuing a damaged B-17. Another dive. Another burst. Another kill. The German formation begins to disintegrate. Individual pilots break away from their attack runs, looking upward for the source of the attacks. Their tactical coordination dissolves into defensive reactions. The bombers continue unmolested toward their target. Over the next 4 minutes, Razor executes 7 more diving attacks. Each follows the same pattern: climb, position, dive, fire, recover. The P-47's weight and power allow him to outdive any pursuing aircraft. Its rugged construction absorbs damage from return fire. Its 8 machine guns deliver devastating firepower during brief engagement windows. By 0900 hours, 11 German fighters have been shot down or severely damaged. The surviving aircraft withdraw toward their home bases, their attack formation shattered, and their mission failed. The bomber stream continues uninterrupted toward Leipzig. Razor's P-47 is damaged but flyable. 317 bullet holes puncture the fuselage and wings. The engine runs rough, but oil pressure and cylinder head temperatures remain within acceptable limits. He has used 80% of his ammunition and half his fuel. But he is alive, the bombers are safe, and German fighter tactics have been rendered obsolete. The immediate aftermath is confusion. Radio traffic fills with conflicting reports as pilots try to understand what they witnessed. The official bomber tally credits Razor with 11 confirmed kills and 3 probables, the highest single mission score in 8th Air Force history. But the real impact is tactical, not statistical. During debriefing, intelligence officers question every detail of the engagement. They want to understand how a single P-47 disrupted a coordinated attack by 40-plus German fighters. They demand precise descriptions of Razor's maneuvers, his positioning, his target selection criteria. Major Williams listens with growing amazement as Razor describes his diving attacks. The maneuvers violate established doctrine, but the results speak for themselves. 11 kills, 0 American losses. Mission objectives achieved without compromise. Within hours, reports of the engagement reach group headquarters, then wing level, then 8th Air Force Command. Phone calls are made. Classified cables are transmitted. Orders are issued to interview every pilot who witnessed the action. The reaction is mixed. Some senior officers express concern about individual pilots abandoning formation discipline. They argue that Razor's success was due to exceptional circumstances and that attempting to duplicate his tactics will result in increased losses among average pilots. Others recognize the tactical breakthrough. Colonel Hub Zemke, no relation to Razor, commanding officer of the 56th Fighter Group, orders immediate testing of diving attack techniques. He authorizes modified mission profiles that position selected P-47 squadrons above bomber formations specifically to conduct high-speed interception of German fighters. The German response is swift and telling. Within 2 weeks, Luftwaffe fighter tactics manuals are revised to include warnings about American diving attacks. German pilots are instructed to maintain constant vigilance above and behind their formations. Fighter sweeps are modified to include high-altitude cover flights. But the tactical revolution cannot be contained by revised manuals. American pilots across multiple fighter groups begin experimenting with energy tactics. The results vary. Some pilots lack the skill or aircraft performance necessary for successful diving attacks, but the trend is unmistakable. P-47 squadrons report decreased losses and increased kill ratios. Bomber formations suffer fewer casualties during escort missions. German fighter pilots become more cautious, less aggressive, more concerned with survival than with achieving maximum bomber kills. By October 1943, diving attack tactics are being taught formally at replacement pilot training schools. Not as primary doctrine. Formation discipline remains paramount, but as advanced techniques for exceptional circumstances. The innovation spreads beyond the 8th Air Force. P-51 Mustang squadrons adopt modified versions suitable for their lighter aircraft. P-38 Lightning pilots develop twin-engine variants. Even Navy and Marine Corps fighters begin incorporating energy management principles into their Pacific theater operations. Razor himself continues flying combat missions. He does not tour stateside or conduct training lectures. He leads by example, refining his techniques, teaching younger pilots through demonstration rather than classroom instruction. His total kill count reaches 37 by December 1943, making him one of the highest-scoring American fighter pilots in the European theater. More importantly, pilots trained in his methods report significantly higher survival rates than those flying conventional tactics. By early 1944, the air war over Europe has fundamentally changed. German fighter pilots, once supremely confident in their tactical superiority, now must account for American fighters that attack from impossible angles at impossible speeds. The psychological impact is as significant as the tactical one. Luftwaffe combat reports begin including references to Terrorjäger, terror hunters, describing American fighters that appear without warning, strike with devastating effect, and vanish before retaliation is possible. German pilots report decreased confidence in their traditional tactics and increased stress during combat operations. American intelligence intercepts radio communications indicating that German fighter schools are revising their training curricula to address diving attack threats. New defensive formations are tested. Alternative engagement strategies are developed. The tactical initiative has shifted. The broader implications extend beyond individual combat techniques. Razor's diving attacks demonstrate that aircraft design and tactical employment must be considered together. The P-47's weight, previously considered a disadvantage, becomes a strategic asset when used correctly. Aircraft manufacturers take notice. Republic Aviation incorporates lessons learned from combat reports into improved P-47 variants. Pratt & Whitney refines engine performance to support sustained high-speed operations. Gun manufacturers develop ammunition types optimized for brief, high-speed engagements. Training commands establish new curricula emphasizing energy management over traditional dogfighting techniques. Pilots learn to think in 3 dimensions, to use altitude and speed as weapons, to exploit physics rather than fight against it. The statistical results are measurable and dramatic. Fighter loss rates in the 8th Air Force decreased by 37% between September 1943 and March 1944. Bomber loss rates decreased by 22% over the same period. Mission effectiveness increases as fewer bombers are shot down before reaching their targets. These improvements represent thousands of lives saved and hundreds of successful missions that would have failed under previous tactical doctrine. The mathematical impact of one pilot's innovation compounds across thousands of individual combats. Razor does not live to see the full implementation of his tactical innovations. On March 15, 1944, during a mission to bomb aircraft factories near Augsburg, his P-47 is hit by anti-aircraft fire while strafing a German airfield. He attempts to return to base but crashes in Allied territory near the French-Belgian border. Local resistance fighters reach the crash site first. They find Razor unconscious but alive, his left leg broken, his face cut by shattered canopy glass. He spends 3 months recovering in a hidden farmhouse while the French resistance arranges his evacuation to Allied lines. He returns to combat duty in July 1944. Just as the tactical revolution, he began reaches full implementation. 8th Air Force fighter squadrons are systematically destroying German fighter opposition through coordinated diving attacks. The Luftwaffe, once masters of European skies, has been reduced to defensive operations and last-ditch interceptions. Razor flies his final mission on December 8, 1944, a ground attack sortie against German supply lines in the Ardennes forest. His P-47 is damaged by small arms fire, but he returns safely to base. By then, his kill count stands at 41 confirmed victories, making him the highest-scoring P-47 pilot in the European theater. He is rotated home in January 1945, awarded the Medal of Honor for his tactical innovations and combat leadership. The citation reads, in part, through exceptional skill, innovative tactics, and unwavering courage, Lieutenant Zemke revolutionized fighter employment in the European theater, directly contributing to Allied air superiority and the successful completion of the strategic bombing campaign. Post-war, Razor returns to Nebraska and resumes farming. He rarely speaks of his combat experiences, deflecting questions about his innovations with characteristic understatement. "I just flew the airplane the way it wanted to be flown," he tells a newspaper reporter in 1947. Physics doesn't care about doctrine. He dies in 1989 at age 68. Killed in a farm equipment accident while repairing a combine harvester. His obituary in the Lincoln Journal mentions his Medal of Honor, but focuses primarily on his contributions to agricultural modernization in Nebraska. Only the last paragraph notes that tactics he developed during World War II are still taught at the Air Force Academy. The farmhouse where he grew up still stands. The current owners, unaware of its historical significance, use it to store grain and equipment. A faded photograph on the kitchen wall shows a young man in flight gear standing beside a P-47 Thunderbolt. Most visitors assume it shows a local boy who served in the war. Few recognize the face of the man who changed how fighter pilots think about physics, energy, and the three-dimensional chess game of aerial combat. The diving attack technique Razor pioneered became standard doctrine for all major air forces by 1945. The principle, energy management over formation flying, influenced jet-age combat tactics and remains fundamental to modern fighter employment. F-86 Sabres in Korea used refined versions of his methods. F-4 Phantoms in Vietnam. F-15 Eagles in Desert Storm. The lesson extends beyond aviation. In any complex system, innovation often comes from practitioners who understand tools better than theorists who design doctrine. Razor's breakthrough was not inspired genius. It was methodical experimentation by someone willing to test assumptions under life-and-death conditions. He proved that unconventional does not mean undisciplined, that individual initiative can complement rather than undermine team effectiveness. His diving attacks worked because they were grounded in physics, refined through repetition, and applied with precise timing. The 11-kill mission became legend, studied in staff colleges, and analyzed in tactical journals. But the real legacy is philosophical, the idea that doctrine serves pilots, not the other way around. That survival requires adaptation. That one person thinking clearly under pressure can change the way everyone else fights. Modern fighter pilots inherit pieces of Razor's logic every time they climb into a cockpit. The understanding that altitude is stored energy, that speed is life, that the enemy's expectations are vulnerabilities waiting to be exploited. The sky over Leipzig is quiet now. The bombers have long since completed their missions. The fighters have returned to bases that are now museums or housing developments. But somewhere in the archived mission reports, in the fading gun camera footage, in the tactical manuals written by men who flew with him, Razor's handwriting remains, precise, methodical, unassuming. The handwriting of a Nebraska farmer who understood that physics doesn't negotiate, that reality doesn't care about rank or doctrine, and that sometimes the best way forward is straight down. Speed is life. Altitude is opportunity. And the initiative belongs to those who dare to dive when everyone else climbs. Some legacies are carved in stone. Others are written in the physics of survival. Thank you for watching. For more detailed historical breakdowns, check out the other videos on your screen now and don't forget to subscribe.